everybody. I hope you've had a great week. This week, we're going to walk through lessons 129 to 132. So let's get started. This week, you're going to need your lessons manual, the student worksheet book, the math card games manual with the game cards. You'll need the drawing board. You'll need your tangram pieces, the T-square, the 30-60 triangle, and the 45 triangle. You'll need colored pencils or markers. Those materials are not included in the Right Start Math set. You'll need the geometry reflector and 4 colored tiles. This is the last week of new material. Your child is almost done with level D. This week, we're going to continue to learn about geometry concepts, and in this lesson 129, you're going to review fractions as well. So let's get started by turning to lesson 129. For the warm-up, you're going to ask questions about fractions. Now look at the section called Finding a Fraction of a Tangram Arrangement. In this section, you're going to start by giving your child the tangram pieces, and then you are going to write on the whiteboard the fraction 3/4. Now you're going to have your child build out of these fraction pieces a rectangle using the square and 2 of the small triangles, and that is shown in the middle of the first page of the lesson. Then your child is going to find out what 3/4 of that shape is, and 3/4 of that shape would be the full square and 1 of the small triangles. That is 3/4 of that shape. The answers are shown in the middle of the first page of the lesson. Then you're going to write on the whiteboard the fraction 2/4. What is 2/4 of that shape? And your child is going to realize that 2/4, here's our shape, 2/4 would be just the square. Then your child is going to write 1/2, or then you're going to write 1/2 on the whiteboard and have your child find what is 1/2 of that shape. Now it's going to be the exact same piece. 2/4 and 1/2 is the same. Now, if you would like, in fact, I did this with my kids. I got out the fraction chart to help them see also on the fraction chart that 2/4 is the exact same thing as 1/2. Kind of reinforces that. Then you're going to give your child the large triangle, and while you're giving them that, you're going to write on the board the fraction 2/2. And you're going to discuss what 2/2 is, or 2 divided by 2. So what is 2 divided by 2? 2 divided by 2 is 1, right? So what is 2/2 of this shape? 2/2 would be, if I split this in half, 2/2 would be 1, 2, or it's the same as a whole, the entire thing. Now, on the top of the second page of the lesson, you're going to write the fraction 3/2 and ask your child what it is. 3/2 or 3 divided by 2. And let your child find the shapes to make 3/2. Make sure you let your child wrestle with this for just a bit before you give any hints. If needed, help your child to think of this large triangle split in half, and that's kind of going to help them. So if I have 2 halves here, I need a third half. So that will kind of get them started on that. The answer is shown in the lesson manual. The final fraction you're going to give them is 2/1, 2 divided by 1. Now, there is no really good way of saying that. You don't say 2 once. You say just 2/1 will work. And that's just kind of the appropriate way of saying that. Help your child understand what 2/1 is. 2 divided by 1. So what is 2 divided by 1? That is 2. So you're going to have your child combine pieces so that they have 2 full pieces. So here's the 1 whole piece. So you're going to have your child build around this so that they have 2 full pieces. Now, there's one solution of that in the lesson manual, building it into a rectangle. However, my kids built a square off of this. So they made this into a square. So this is 1/2 or 1 of the holes, and then they built the other hole over on that side. That's okay. As long as your child has enough pieces in there to make 2 full holes, then you're good to go. Then you're going to give your child worksheet 106 to complete on their own. The math card game suggested for this lesson is concentrating on 6. And we do have a blog for that game. It's called Winter Games, Concentrating on 6. Also, if your child is still working on their multiplication math facts, make sure you also play a multiplication math card game as well. Well, let's go ahead and turn to lesson 130. In the warm-up section, you're going to ask your child questions about fractions and geometry. Look at the section called Reviewing Terms. Now, in this section, make sure you feel free to let your child look up any of these terms in their math dictionary. In fact, I encourage you to do that. Get them in the habit of using that math dictionary as a resource so that they get in that habit when they get into higher grades, they know how to use that reference. You will also go over these terms as well in this lesson. Look at the section called Quadrilateral. In this section, you're going to explain to your child that a quadrilateral is a closed shape with 4 lines. And you're going to split that term up. Quad means 4, lateral means line, right? So quad, 4 lines. Quadrilateral, 4 lines. Look at the section called Parallelogram. In this section, you're going to explain that a parallelogram is a quadrilateral with opposite sides that are parallel. So you're going to have parallel lines on this side, parallel lines on that side. The angles for that doesn't matter. So it might be kind of like a funky shape as long as you have 2 opposite parallel lines. Under the section called Squares and Rectangles, again, you're going to explain what those shapes are. As always, have your child look up those terms in the math dictionary to kind of help build that definition back in there. On the top of the second page of the lesson, you're going to ask questions about the shape of a kite. And so you're going to ask questions about that. Then you're going to give your child worksheet 107, where you're going to complete this worksheet together. You're going to walk through the different shapes as shown on the top of the worksheet, identify what category that shape is, and then your child is going to draw that shape inside that correct category. Now, the answers are listed in the lesson manual. The math card game suggested for this lesson is concentrating on 8s, which is played just like concentrating on 6, except for your child is going to be working with the 8s instead. As always, if your child is still working on their multiplication math facts, make sure you're also playing a multiplication math card game so your child is learning those. Let's go ahead and turn to lesson 131. For the warm-up, you're going to ask your child questions about fractions using money and time. Look at the section called Reflections with Tangrams. You're going to start by giving your child the tangram pieces, probably in just the large triangle to begin with, and you're also going to give them the geometry reflector. Now, this is the geometry reflector, and the cool thing about the geometry reflector is you can see it on see the reflection, and you can also see the projection on the other side. And I'm going to see if I can't get this so that you can kind of see this. So you can see this triangle, and you can see how it's reflecting in on the other, projecting in over on the other side. So you can see kind of the line of symmetry. This would be the line of symmetry, and you can see this side would be the same as the opposite side. Once your child learns to use this reflector to see the reflection and the projection to the other side, you're going to have your child line up that reflector on the line of symmetry for this, the large triangle. So you can see both the reflection as well as the projection. Then you're going to give your child worksheet 108, and their drawing tools. Now, your child is going to need both triangles, the 30-60 triangle as well as the 45 triangle, to complete this worksheet. So your child is going to draw the different reflections on their worksheet, and they can use the reflector if it helps them. Answers to these problems are shown in the lesson manual. The math card game suggested for this lesson is, again, concentrating on 8s. Be sure you play a multiplication math card game if your child is still working on their multiplication math facts. Let's go ahead and turn to lesson 132. Now, in the warm-up section, you're going to review the term congruent and determine what congruent is. Look at the section called Shapes with 4 Tiles. In this section, you're going to give your child 4 colored tiles, and you're going to have them combine these tiles in such a way that at least one edge of one tile touches one edge of another tile. And there are 5 solutions for that shown on the bottom of the first page of the lesson. Now remember, do not give any hints unless your child absolutely needs some hints. Then you're going to give your child worksheet 109 to complete on their own if possible. The answers are included in the lesson manual. Your child is actually going to color in different shades, colors based on the instructions on the worksheet. The math card game for this lesson is going to have your child pick out any game that they enjoy playing. However, if your child is still learning their multiplication math facts, make sure you're also playing a multiplication math card game. Well, that's it for the week. If you have any questions or concerns about a lesson, or if your child is struggling with something, give us a call or email us. We are here to help. I look forward to seeing you next week as we cover lessons 133 to 136. Have a great week, everybody.